Only help the people that actually come to the church? No problem. Background. I am the pastor of a small church in the SE United States. We have a benevolence fund that church members contribute to and is designated to help people in need, such as help with power bills, water bills, rent, etc. At the time this took place, we had about $6,000 in that fund, and we had about as much money coming in as we had going out. So the amount was more or less staying steady over a period of several months. The elder who was in charge of deciding who got help and who didn't somehow got the idea that we were going to run out of this fund if we were not careful. Not likely. Therefore, he came to me and said, "Pastor, I think we need to restrict our benevolence help to those that physically come to the church, not just those that call in via the telephone." He and I debated this back and forth. There was no issue about people calling in being less likely to be legitimate cases. He was just simply trying to reduce expenditures. His line of reasoning was that at some point, one of our members might need some help for something big, and we needed to make sure that we had plenty of money on hand if, when they needed it. My position was that one. This money was given with the expectation that we use it to help as many people as possible and not just sit on most of it. And two, we had a really long ways to go before we spent so much that we didn't have any left in reserve. Not wanting to die on this particular hill, I acquiesced to his suggestion. However, when people started calling in saying that they needed help with something, I told them, "Okay, here is what I need you to do. Bring your bill and a photo ID to the church between such and such hours, and someone will at least talk to you. I can't promise anything more than that, but someone will at least sit down with you." Never had a single one object to coming in, and they would usually show up shortly thereafter. The church secretary, who agreed with me on this one, overheard me telling this to someone, and started laughing, knowing exactly what I was doing. A few weeks later, the elder mentioned to me, "You know, we are getting a lot more people coming directly to the church instead of calling in. Word must have gotten out about how we are doing this." I just replied, "Yep, it must have," and then I would just smile and move on. The elder passed away about 4 years ago, and I don't think he ever clued in as to what I was doing. You have great church. Every person I have ever known that tried to get help from a church was denied. Just to add my 2 cents. Thankfully moved to a different state and quit church altogether. Multitude of reasons. I remarked to the pastor our church didn't visit local nursing homes or minister to the elderly when they are shut-ins. A few other churches did. His answer? There's no reason for us to do that. Only a very small percentage of nursing home patients pay tithes. Then he shrugged as if it wasn't important. I informed him the elderly had to turn over their SS checks to the nursing home in total. They couldn't tithe. He shrugged. His answer was directly related to how much anyone supports that church and pastor. Grumble. We dedicate funds to remote missions but also take a regular offering for church members and people in the local area. We talk with them rather than just send money based on phone calls to see what other ways we can help, such as counseling, etc. Occasionally we contribute to an organization that serves the larger area. We limit to local area because there is so much need that we couldn't help our flock. It's an agonizing decision at times. We've been scammed a couple times over 20 years or so, but most people are honest and just need help. The only thing that bothers me is that our society, government needs better safety nets. It's incredibly hard work to be poor. We can only do so much to help. I thought for certain that physically coming into church meant requiring that they attend services, which I would object to on ethical grounds. physically being present to request the assistance. Though, seems like a perfectly acceptable requirement. This is good work you are doing. It seems to me that using a benevolence fund to help anyone who needs it would be one of those hills worth dying on. Maybe it's just me, but I kinda feel like that's how Jesus did it. TBH. I'd never expect help from a church. Unless I first went through a series of hoops that included them saving me. Thanks for sharing. Because it's nice to know that they're not all like that.
Chaotic good.
Years ago I was in desperate need. I asked my church for help. Didn't get any. But they did like to buy goats for people in poor countries. You're a good person. I asked a church for $25 once to pay a power bill. In the 80s. And had to sit through a demeaning lecture. Called counseling. Telling me how wrong I'd lived my life to that point, then told to clean the bathrooms before they gave me any money. I did it because I had a small child and needed to pay the bill. I was married and both myself and husband were employed too. But we had simply run out of money that month. This was a church I had been attending at the time. I've pretty much hated established religion ever since. Peas. The bathrooms were disgusting. How wonderful to see MC fueled by goodwill and positivity. Exclamation mark. Bravo. With all due respect. Up being a pastor and all. I don't think this was malicious in any way. Petty. Yes. But since there was no evil intent. Not malicious. It's also a creative solution to an otherwise intractable problem. As someone who no longer attends church due to people like that old man, it really makes me glad to see a pastor, especially in the SE, care about those outside his flock. I always wondered why we had to go far away to help people, instead of working in our community, or why help and love was conditional. Thank you for being different. Glad you and your church do this. My personal experience with churches and money goes back a long ways. Never trust a church that has a political agenda. They'll leave you high and dry after you help them and donate for over 20 years. Honestly makes me wonder if most of these religious types actually read that book of theirs. The elders' attitude reminds me of post-9/11 Red Cross. They hoarded massive donations, in case something big happens down the line. It was a huge flap that did not make that organization look good at all. You should have asked where in the Bible it says to only love thy neighbor if they attend your church. I'm non-religious myself, but the American idea of Christianity just baffles me. Like the church with a sign banning men with long hair and beards posted right in front of a statue of Jesus, who's portrayed as a man with long hair and a beard. His line of reasoning was that at some point, one of our members might need some help for something big, and we needed to make sure that we had plenty of money on hand if, when they needed it. This is like, sorry, I can't give you the last widget. Then I won't have a widget for when someone comes who needs a widget. Good on you for working around that. Here's the thing. I'm an atheist, but I contribute to charities in various ways. Sometimes they're religious charities. If I think you're helping people, I'm usually fine with that. But at the slightest hint that a charity discriminates or restricts help to only a certain group of people, you'll never see another cent from me. I had recent surgery. I can barely walk to the bathroom. Food bank requires in-person with ID. But after that you can send someone. A seniors food box program started delivering during COVID to vulnerable people over 60. I have to wonder if the elder did intend for it to be the way you handled it. But the way he put it made it seem like they had to be a member or at least attend services. I'm guessing he wanted to make sure the church wasn't being used as somebody's piggy bank. By bringing in a photo ID and a copy of the bill in question, you were really protecting the church. It's very easy for somebody to call up the church, claim they need help with utility bills, rent, or groceries, receive a check or cash in the amount of, say, $50, and they end up using it to buy alcohol, drugs, or maybe a new TV. By having the person come in with the utility bill, you can write a check out to the utility company in question and mail it off for them. It keeps them honest and it helps you better track where the money is going. I'm not saying any of your parishioners, members would do as I suggested. But you never know, especially if your area does have a major alcoholism or drug problem, especially meth or opioid abuse.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.